And
Yeah.
a lot of that energy has been used and abused, and it has conditioned those with sacral centers to override their own natural decision making of what's correct for them. And because they have so much energy to give and sustain, they're doing a lot of work they don't want to do.
Hmm.
Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Today we're diving into
The sacral center.
dun dun dun.
That's a good one. That's a good amount of force, I think. The sacral center, the power of fertility is the sacral center.
Oh, coming in hot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that.
It's like that.
It is the center of fertility. And I always feel like we should have a chit chatty moment here, but we just kind of drop into it. So I don't know. We'll have to
Well, that's all
like
you. You
what
just start talking.
well, what else? You say, what are we diving into? The sacral center. Well, then I feel like I should start talking about it. Not like change the subject and be like, so what'd you have for dinner last night? Hmm. Thai food. That's what I had.
I had a burger.
Hmm. By yourself?
No, we went out downtown. I didn't just eat a burger by myself.
You told me earlier you were home alone. That's right. After you went ate. Okay.
I was in for the food and then I went home.
Because that would be a really weird thing for you to eat by yourself at home. Me too.
Yeah,
We don't do that. No.
no.
I mean, at least I have a grill. I could grill one, but you don't have a
I mean,
grill.
I would have to go like down to the communal area
You'd
to
have
grill.
to really want to eat that burger.
Yeah, and I don't have
Don't
that kind of
drive.
drive.
Well, you are undefined in the sacral. So
Yes. I don't have
that's a
that
nice
constant
segue.
power.
Yeah.
I do have two gates though.
You do. Let's see. I
I
have it
do.
right here. Pulled out. Let's see.
I have the 9 and the
Oh, yes.
34. And I have the 34 twice
You
in
do.
my
That's in your Pluto.
conscious and unconscious.
Hmm. Yes, it is your Pluto gates.
Pluto.
Yes, you do. So, because you are a projector, I am a generator. So we have here me, sacral being, you, non-sacral being. And I'm just thinking about how in my AI transcription, I'm going to have to fix that because every time I say bean, it says it like bean, like a green bean. I have to fix it every time. Also, I think, oh my gosh, how many times I'm going to have to correct the spelling on sacral? It has like say girl, sometimes it's Seiko. It has all these different spellings for sacral.
Can you add a dictionary?
Well, it does have one, but like I told you, I put your name in there to spell it correctly. And it took like 15 episodes before it started spelling your name correctly whenever the transcription came up. I don't it's a
Why'd you gotta
great program, but it has its limitations.
why'd you gotta give me such a complicated name?
It doesn't like ajna either. Doesn't like that word. Root for some reason is always like a route, like what route are you taking, meaning route.
Oh.
It spells it route every time. I know this is riveting information for everybody out there. This is the life of podcasting. Things you never thought about before you start a podcast of
Keeping behind the curtain here.
yeah. It's very boring back here. Oh gosh. Okay. So anyways, the sacral center. Yes. For a moment there I had a
Brain fart?
brain fart because I was like, we are doing the sacral center, right? Okay. This is a very I mean, I know we just did the solar plexus too and the root. The solar plexus has such dominance because with deciding if your decision making authority is to wait and get clarity or to act more in the moment. But the besides the throat center, the sacral center are really two of the most important as far as influence they have in the whole chart. The sacral center has a lot of influence in the chart as well as the throat, which we get into that throat center. It might have to be two parts. There's a lot of gates in that center.
There's a lot of gates.
And in the sacral center, like I said, with you being a projector, I'm a generator, it determines type, whether or not your sacral center is defined. And then also, if it is defined, it also further determines your type if it's connected to the throat center, which would then make you a
manifesting generator.
That's right, having that connection to the throat. And so it doesn't have to be purely sacral straight to the throat through the 3420. It could be any of the other motors connected to the throat, and you have your sacral center defined. So say you had like sacral and root defined, but not connected to, say, like the will center is connected to your throat. So that is a motor to the throat, but also.
But if you have a motorized throat and an undefined root, then you would just be a manifester. Is that correct?
Undefined sacral.
Yes, that's what I meant. Undefined sacral.
Yeah, exactly. If you have one of the motors connected to the throat, but you're undefined in the sacral, that makes you a manifester. Correct. So the difference there being, is your sacral center defined or not? That's what adds that generator part.
As a big ticket item. As she sips her boba tea.
Yes. Okay. I suppose if you're a professional podcaster, you shouldn't be drinking or eating anything when you're recording, but it's boba tea time.
There are lots of different definitions of professional.
Yes. We are experienced. We have some experience now.
We are on episode 19.
This is episode 20. We have reached a milestone, 20 episodes, and still so much to go. And
that's more than a lot of podcasters.
If you've made it to episode 20, if you've listened to all of them, we really, really, really appreciate you, because we have fun doing it.
Yeah.
It's one of the more, like I think we discussed before, one of the more consistent things I've done in my life. So I must like it. And it's fun. We get to talk to each other every week. I mean, face to face.
Which we didn't really do beforehand.
No. We still do in between communication between reels and TikToks. Sending them back and forth is probably, entertaining, as most do.
An occasional text.
The text which says, "Hey, look at this TikTok." True.
But
anyways,
I tend to go home like once a month at least.
Well, not so far away. No, not so far. Oh, we'll see each other tomorrow, face to face. That's right. Forgot to do a little wedding food tasting tomorrow, which is exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good. Okay, so back to the sacral center. So this sacral center is that motor. It is the dominant motor, I guess you could call it, in the system, in that it is the one that is always on. It is consistent, sustainable energy. And that's, why generators are the ones that can keep working, keep doing all these things. They have that access to it at all times. So some would say that all life on the planet really is fostered here in this system, in this center. Because
so what percentage of people have a defined sacral?
Defined sacral, well, that between generators, manifesting generators, it's around, they say, like 70% of the population, because then there's about 20% projectors, and then 9% manifestors, 1% reflectors. So that other 30% is the other types. And so so this is what they mean, that this kind of fosters all life on the planet, human life on the planet, because the majority of people have sacral centers defined because they're generators. This center, it empowers our survival, gives us that power to do, to build, and to grow, allowing us to reproduce and provide the impulse to basically care and nurture our young. So it has these two gates off it, which we're going to talk about, that are in the tribal circuitry called the defense circuit. And those are the ones that are most tied to like actual reproduction and families, having families, rearing families. And of course, the sacral center then is also biologically associated with the sexual organs because that's the energy.
Mhm.
And so the major themes here in the sacral center are that sexual for not sexual force. I had two things in there. I mean, it is a force. Sexuality, workforce, energy, vitality, movement, physical actual movement in the world has a lot to do with the sacral center here. As we said, defined sacrals are either the manifesting generator or generator. And the sacral center is designed to respond to life. It's designed to respond to whatever comes at it, basically. It responds with a yes or a no,
Mhm.
essentially. Mhm. It is a very complex center because it has this capacity to always be generating this energy, and it has the ability to communicate, even though it is not the throat, it's not a verbal communication. It's
Mhm.
that it's a more of a I didn't mean to do that right then. It's more of a aha or it is a literal, and sometimes it doesn't even come out that way. If you're a generator, you might understand how it's just like a feeling in your body. Sometimes your or your yes can be felt as a leap in your stomach or a expansive feeling. It just depends. It's different for everybody,
Mhm.
but it has this ability to communicate at that primal body level without having, so it bypasses the mind. It
Mhm.
literally
How do
is this.
you how do you most typically feel your response?
Well, generally, if I'm by myself, I'm not talking to myself mostly. Sometimes I do,
I do.
but I can I could say when somebody asks me questions, I mean, you've seen it, or, sometimes sometimes I scrunch my face up and be like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like it is
Sometimes it's just a face.
yeah, sometimes I can feel it's like, no. And it's very, very fast,
Mhm.
visceral almost sometimes.
Mhm.
In the positive, in the yes, I don't think I'm ever like or I'm more just like it does feel like a leap or just like a expansiveness feeling, but immediate hit a lot of times for me it is this like you get butterflies in your stomach kind
Mhm.
of it's fast like that, and it feels like oh yeah, it
Mhm.
like lights, it literally lights you up, and which is very interesting. So it is so instinctual in those who have the sacral center because it predates language. I mean, this was the
Mhm.
guiding force for our species basically on the planet to lead us towards things that were good for us and avoiding things that are not either not good for us but or really not a good use of our energy. So what's interesting, because it doesn't come from the mind, it comes from the body. Unfortunately, it gets overridden by the mind
Mhm.
because there is no logic to it a lot of times. And sometimes, especially in the affirmative of yes, moving towards something, like they say, even manifesting generators, it can be so fast. So when I say it could be a quick yes or a no, they could just not even have the time to grunt. It's just a yes. Or they do neither and they just literally can get up and move towards something. Like you ask somebody if they want to you want to go for a walk, they might just get up and walk out the door.
Oh, that's
Like, oh, you
Bailey.
coming? You coming? But I think I got off track there. So the sacral response basically lets us know, sacral beings, whether or not they have the energy for something. And as I was saying, the mind quickly jumps in on top of that because we went through this period in our history and evolution where logic and reasoning became more valued than instinct. And
Mm-hmm.
we're slowly, I believe, coming out of that when as we're moving more towards that emotional response or using the intentionality response, not just reacting to everything. But because we've let our minds override this body authority that we have, it's pretty much what we're seeing in the world today is a world of people, a world that was created by people who are overriding their natural instinct of what's correct for them.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout time, with the majority of people being sacral beings, those in charge have taken advantage of that sacral energy. A lot of this world was built on the backs of other people, enslaved people, and
Yeah.
a lot of that energy has been used and abused, and it has conditioned those with sacral centers to override their own natural decision making of what's correct for them. And because they have so much energy to give and sustain, they're doing a lot of work they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now we all have to do things we don't want to do. I mean, that's just life.
Unfortunately.
We got to fold the laundry, we got to wash the floors, we got to pay taxes, like all that shit. We got to do it. But my point being that this was something that Ra had said, and that he was a manifester, so he was not defined in the sacral.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he saw it, and I have to agree, is that we live in such a messed up, painful world because it was created by people who are not doing the things that light them up and make them happy. And that energy has been misused and abused. And
Mm-hmm.
the more that we can wake up more generators or inform them how to use the sacral center and honor using it, it's going to have this ripple effect outwards of improving things. Because
Yeah.
I believe that the greatest thing you can do to help improve the world is to do what is best for you, because I just don't believe that you're placed with that dream of your heart and you're giving this desire to do something in the world that wouldn't generally just help the rest of the world, because the world's fucked up because so many people are unhappy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know there's going to be I don't think people listening to this podcast, but there will be people that disagree with me that said, well, not everybody can just do whatever it is they want to go do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that true? Have we ever tried it? I mean, there's some people that think, well, then it would just be one long episode or installment of The Purge. They'd all be out. Just, I want to do whatever I want. I'm going to rape, pillage, and plunder. Well, that's
People
ridiculous.
can still do what makes them happy, and it's still within the legal and ethical bounds of our society.
Exactly. And so I think
People,
anybody that would immediately go to that thought is probably doing things they don't want to be doing, and they're unhappy in the
yeah.
first place. So
I
they get
mean,
angry
people
when you.
aren't inherently angry or mean or
Mhm.
anything like that.
Not inherently, but I believe that probably a lot of them feel trapped in the life that they have and that there isn't another option. That's just the way it is because that's the way it's always been done, which I don't believe. And so you will get people coming at you when you say you should be allowed to do work that you love. And that's what generators are here to do, is literally we have this workforce energy. We're designed to find work that lights us up and do more of it. And that helps create a more sustainable world.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about all that energy being used towards things. Not that it's all being used for bad, but I think you know
No.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. And
Um,
I mean, generators and manifesting generators, like we've said, are the biggest part of the population. So
mhm. Yeah.
it makes sense.
And nature itself, and we've talked about the universal laws and everything, but nature itself is an abundant force. It goes through cycles. There is growth and periods of non-growth, I
Stagnation.
guess. Yeah. There are natural cycles where things are sometimes dormant and sometimes flourishing. But over time, the universe is expanding. Nature is always trying to flourish and
Mm-hmm.
grow outwards. The natural tendency is not decay and atrophy and everything. That's not the natural order of
Mm-hmm.
the universe. And so, how are we any different? We, as people, are meant to flourish and grow and expand and become more abundant. And it just goes on and on and on. So, I believe that we're all given everything that we need within ourselves, that we are quote unquote, I don't want to say programmed, I don't want anybody to get twisted, but we're talking about human design, and these blueprints were encoded with this certain code that is perfect for us to
Mm-hmm.
express what is going to make us the happiest and make us
Mm-hmm.
the most productive and flourishing. And 70% of us on the planet were given this like incredible
Power
ability
source.
to, yes, to build it, to make it grow under the guidance of our dear projectors and manifestors and reflectors. But how could that not be something that should be used for people to be doing what they want to be doing? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
I can feel it. I can sense it swirling around in my head. So I hope it came out right. But anyways, so we were talking about the sounds the sacral makes. The yes,
Oh,
the no. I know. The
I was like,
uh-huh.
sounds.
The uh-huh, the uh-uh. Like I said, it can vary for most people. And some people will say, well, my sacral doesn't talk to me that way if they're defined. They don't recognize what it feels like, sounds like, which just takes practice. And if that's possibly you, if you're listening, if you have someone that can ask you yes or no questions, you can start very simply with things that are obviously yes or no, like the color of your eyes, what you're wearing, things like that. Is it raining outside? Yes or no? And have someone actually ask you these questions, and don't think it, just allow your body to respond. It may be, and they actually say when you're first trying to really tease it out, if you're really disconnected for it, is to not use words at all. Just literally let them,
Mm-hmm.
And when you find yourself, because I think we were talking about this with Presley, Sacral Center,
Mm-hmm.
because the second you ask somebody a yes or no question and they are defined and they go, well, or okay, so that means they think they're like, no, they think it's not working. That's not it. You just haven't asked the right question.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be layers to it. So an example I have is if you say, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? And someone might say, I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
mm, I don't know. Okay, well then you could ask a question, well, okay, do you want to leave the house? No. Do you want to cook? No.
No.
Okay, do you want to order takeout? Yes. So it's not so much that they didn't want to go out to dinner. There was too many layers in the question. Like you can only have one yes or no thing in there. And kind of in
Mm-hmm.
that sense, it was going out and it was dinner. You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You're asking two questions at the same time. It takes some practice, but when you parse it out like that, you have to kind of stop and think, okay, what's a good way to ask this question? We often think that indecision is like, it'll tell you yes or no, but it takes some practice. So that was that. So because this motor is always burning energy, it needs to burn off energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're designed to work, to move, to do. And so being active is important for generators. And if you find that maybe you're not sleeping well at night, or if you're having other issues, it may be that you're not expending enough physical energy today, even just getting up from your desk and walking around a little bit, which I am guilty of. Even though my watch says time to stand, I'll be like, I'll stand in a few minutes.
Like, I swear I just stood.
But I did. I do put my, I said, I have my printer in another part of the house if I ever had to print anything. I try not to keep everything in one spot so that I do have to move around. Or even just, getting up, moving around is important. But physical activity is important for a defined sacral center.
But so it like auto replenishes basically. Because like how we talked about the G center,
Mm-hmm.
that one you had if you depleted it, you had to like
No, that's
do more self-care
the
things.
will center.
Oh, the will center. I get
Mm-hmm.
them mixed up. The will center, the little triangle.
Mm-hmm.
That was the gas tank one where
Yeah, that
if you
works to
depleted it,
rest.
you have to do this the like
You have
more
to,
self-care things.
yeah, you have to rest to, yeah,
Mm,
generator, it is sustainable and renewable in the sense that they're actually designed to use all their energy up in the day, exhaust the energy.
mhm,
So a generator works best if they are expending that energy doing things they love, really working, even physically working, doing stuff, exhaust themselves at the end of the day, go to bed exhausted, head hits the pillow, out, so to say. So yes, we are designed to just exhaust that energy, and then the next day you have the same amount of energy. Now, this is when you're functioning optimally, doing work you love and
mhm,
everything. Generators still definitely burn out. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go through these gates and where that tends to happen. But that just means they're not using their energy doing things that they want to be doing. They're just doing everything for everybody
mhm,
and not really finding things that really light them up. Can definitely burn out a generator. So, that being said, about using up that energy, that's why generators have the sacral response so that they are entering into commitments correctly. Because if they got a negative response and they still do it, that's not a good use of their energy. And it's something that generators obviously struggle with, is creating these boundaries around their energy because it is so available,
mhm.
and it's really not such a big chore. Oh well, yeah, I can do that for you real quick kind of thing, or taking on the projects at work, or whatever it is. So they have to make sure that they're entering into commitments correctly, because they're going to probably meet with resistance, frustration, exhaustion, lack of happiness, all these things. And another thing to point out here about sacral centers and not entering into things correctly. So generator types can have somewhat of a reputation at times for being quitters, and people that
Mm,
tend to, just drop things and quit. And it's usually because they entered into something incorrectly and they just don't have the energy for it anymore, especially
they're
if
like,
they're
I'm done.
authority. Yeah, if they're also emotional authorities, if they rush the decision, maybe they had a negative response to something, but they're like, well, let me think about it. And then they try to talk themselves into it. And they're like, kind of over time, they're going against all their strategy and authority, and it can lead to those kind of situations. And I can honestly say I have not mastered this, of just really letting your sacral run the show. My mind
Mhm,
still wants to get in the way constantly, overthink and rationalize things logically, because like I said, a lot of times that response may lead you to things that makes no sense in the moment, right? As to why you should go do this or go make this phone call or start working on another project. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense until way afterwards. You could look back and see, like, oh wow, if I had never done that, then that wouldn't have happened, and then that
mhm.
wouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't be where I was. And so it's a fun little game that sacrals get to play in life, of like, what's next, but it's very difficult to do
Mhm,
that. I am very much like, let's see what happens.
mhm.
Generally, let's not get
Yeah.
too caught up in details. I don't have that gate. But at the same time, my mental internal process, my the is constantly trying to figure it out. I'm always trying to figure it out. And the worst thing a generator can do is try to figure anything out. There's no figuring. You just gotta follow. So let's move on to, I think we've, covered that
Let's
part.
get into the gates.
Yes. Well, before we get into the gates, I think it's important, a few notes on you non-sacral types, because I don't want you to think I'm not thinking about you.
Oh,
And
thanks.
it's important because you guys are so susceptible to all this sacral energy around you. It's
Mhm,
always pretty much infusing your systems, with as with the undefined center because you're taking it and amplifying that energy. And so you are more susceptible to overextending yourself and run the risk of severe exhaustion and burnout and breakdown because it's not sustainable energy, it's borrowed energy.
Mm.
And it's really hard to distinguish, I imagine, what's correct for you or not at times because you're not designed to live in response like sacrals are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't really rely on those sounds, that the sacral sounds, which are
Mm-hmm.
so present. So it does take a lot of working with strategy and authority, which is really life changing for a lot of non sacral people because knowing that you don't have that consistent, sustainable access to that energy can give you a lot of grace and a lot of, when I say, what's the word I'm looking for, Haley? Have a lot of patience with yourself and give yourself some slack.
Mm-hmm.
Because my experience from, I actually know quite a lot of projectors, some manifestors, some of the hardest working people out there, that are always feeling this need to push and do if they're unaware of their energy type, because the whole world around you seems to be able to push
Push
through
and do.
and do, and then they wake up the next day and they're fine. They can do a whole 8 hours of work and then go play in the after school after work sports league and stay out all night and wake up the next day after a normal night's rest and be fine. I mean, just look at your dad. Look at the long ass hours of summer.
I don't know how I did it.
You were a mess. I think when you tried to give blood at school, they were like, you have no what they say,
Hemoglobin. They said my hemoglobin was 0.
yeah, where we thought you were anemic. You poor thing, you were exhausted, I mean, you did school and you did volleyball and then travel
Mm-hmm.
ball and then yeah, I don't know how you did either. You're exhausted, I'm sure. You burned out. You got a little cranky there, a little bitter. Just kidding. But I would say it's been helpful for you to know this now as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
What? I'm waiting.
Oh, about the nature, your
Oh,
energy
well,
system.
yeah, I mean, so like last weekend you and Lakeland were in town and we had a busy weekend.
Hmm.
And then so it's Saturday now when we're recording the following weekend.
Hmm.
And last night Presley's like he wants to go out and get food and then go out and see a band. And I'm like, I didn't say this to him, but I was in my head, I was like, I had a big weekend last weekend. I just want to go home.
Yeah, I need some recharge time. You
So
do. You
I had
do.
Bailey come up on the couch and I cuddled with her.
Aw, that's sweet. That sounds very restful.
It was nice.
But that's part of it. You have to know when enough is enough. That's what non-sacral types are here to learn. When enough is enough, because it's learning to recognize what energy is yours, what's not. It's fine to dip in and borrow that energy. You need to do that sometimes, but also know that you can't sustain it, can't keep it up. So choose when you borrow it if you can. And but also choose to rest and restore, because a non-sacral type is not so quick to bounce back. I
Yeah.
can take a generator a night's sleep. It could take you a couple weeks if you really overextend yourself. So, and I can see it more now too. I've been able to. I'll look. I think I did even say it to you last weekend. I was like, I think Haley's tired.
Oh yeah, that's when we were
Haley's.
coming back up the elevator
I
after
know.
Hamilton.
I was like, I think Haley's had enough for today. I could just tell now. You just kind of hit a wall, and you don't get droopy. You get angry.
Stop emoting.
You get very short. You're like, oh, I'm so tired. But it's okay
It's
because
just
now
not
I'm
enough
like,
energy to respond.
yeah, because now I'm not like, you don't have to take that personally when the person around you is suddenly just like over it. It's just, no, they're just literally over it. It's too much for your system.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, not only are you non sacral, you have a lot of openness, open sacral,
Yeah,
solar plexus, G center, throat. There's a lot of openness there.
there's a
And
lot.
so I'm realizing more now how much that can impact you, and that you do need some time alone, especially in your line too. You need that time. So that's
Mm-hmm.
good. Bailey counts because I'm sure she's a reflector. So
She's just so sweet.
yeah. All right. So I just wanted to make sure the non-sacrals out there realize that they're not lazy, and they just need to have a little bit more rest and have to start honoring that. And so let's see. Let's just go into the gates of the sacral here and see how it's designed to work. And we're going to start with gate 34, which connects to a couple different gates, but it's off there towards the left of the chart, the sacral center. And when we talk about this, remember we're talking about defined energies, whether your sacral center is defined or undefined, you are going to carry, if you have this gate defined, you're going to carry somewhat, let's put it this way. If you're defined, it's always on. If you're undefined, but you have the defined gate, you have access to the energy of that gate and it's there, but it can change and fluctuate depending on who you're around that has sacral energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, gate 34 is the power of the great. It's the gate of power. Pretty much it
Mm-hmm.
is associated with power. And this is the pure power to empower. It's the power that moves us toward our individual selves and displaying our uniqueness in the world. Like this is the power of the individual, your own power. This is energy that is truly for the individual and it's unavailable to others. Like this is just your power for you to use kind of energy. And so it's your own personal power force. And it has the potential for enormous power, but the irony is that it really only works in response. Remember, this is yeah, it's a responding energy. It's not a generate or manifesting energy. So uh the wiring in this part of the chart is rather complex because like you can see this gate connects to 57 in the spleen, 10 in the G center, and also 20 in the throat center. And so it's a lot of energy. I mean, this
Mm-hmm.
is one gate that can connect to all these other gates. And so it's also part of that integration network we were talking
Mm.
about. It's a very quick energy. So it's sometimes hard to slow down enough to see if you're responding. So it's a good idea if you carry this energy, especially a channel with this energy, not just the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're defined through this channel somewhere, which we'll say what the connections mean there in just a sec. But it's a good idea to visualize or practice visualizing outcomes of choices that you have before they step into things so that when there is something to respond to, you'll know if you're kind of moving in the right direction, if it's something that's lining up with your sacral response. So, if the gate 34 is connected to gate 57 in the spleen,
Mm-hmm.
then your intuition will empower your ability to hear what you need to survive perfectly in each moment because spleen is instinctual, it's fast, it's in the moment, it's survival. And that gives
Mm-hmm.
you that extra power, that extra edge to hear what's right for you. And it just occurred to me while I was reviewing this that I think I have this experience because I have this channel. And there was one time that I was caught in a rip current
Mm.
offshore. Not offshore, I mean, I was at the beach.
How old were you?
Oh, I was with your dad. I was just started dating your dad. So I was the early 20s, early like 20, maybe somewhere around 20. And he and his friend Jeff were surfing, and I had a boogie board. And so when you're doing that, you're kind of doing it on your own. And they were
Mm-hmm.
surfing. So I just was on the boogie board and I didn't realize how far I was from shore, but I realized suddenly that no longer could I like come down and touch the not the floor, the
Bottom.
ground, the bottom with my feet. And I was like, where's the bottom? And then I looked and I was like, whoa, I'm really far away from shore. And I did the thing that everybody does that just tries to like go back in,
Hmm.
which with the
Swim
rip
just
current,
directly towards shore.
yeah, with the rip current, it's a lot the worst thing you can do because the current's so strong and it's just shooting you out to
Hmm.
sea. And I didn't really know anything about rip currents, but
You
I
were
can
from
tell you,
Ohio.
yeah, but I can tell you at a moment clearly, I did hear very clearly in my head it told me to paddle the other way, not try to go back out,
Parallel.
but try to go down shore. Yeah.
Parallel to the shore.
And I started paddling that way. And then you hit that point where, sure enough, the current starts carrying you back in. But I didn't know that. But that experience always stands out to me because I'm like, oh, it's guardian angels. But it's also like, this
It
could be
was
an
your spleen.
example of this, of my survival was at stake. And I was able to hear the guidance I needed to hear, which was stop fighting, go that way. So
Hmm.
I could take some more of that guidance, I think. I'll try to tune into that a little bit more. I'll stop fighting. So, if it's connected to gate 10 in the G center, gate 34 to 10, then your energy will be focused more on social behaviors and roles that support your strong beliefs and convictions. So, empowering your own sense of self and your convictions, because that's the G center. It empowers the self, identity, I mean. And if it's connected to gate 20, 3420 is the quintessential manifesting generator channel, which your father has this channel,
This
unconscious,
20 is in the throat.
is in the throat, which is this gate. This connection is very much its power in the now. It is your throat center is got this direct connection to that sacral energy, and so it's the ability to turn your thoughts and deeds, that manifesting that quick energy into to what's best for you. But you have to listen in the now and you have to respond. You can't initiate, you have to respond. And it's very, very, very quick. So this gate is also known as a multitasking gate, and a person with this gate is designed to do lots of things, especially if you're a manifesting generator, because it really needs that outlet of energy. And manifesting generators, that's part of their design too, especially if they have this channel, is to have a lot of these different things going on, a lot of projects, because it is the best use of that energy is to be doing lots of things. You're laughing because your dad.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's 100% him.
Yeah. So it says also if you're undefined though, and you have this gate, you when it gets activated more by people around you, you could be the busiest person on the planet, but not sustainably. So be careful. Okay, so moving up to gate 5, which connects to the G center. This is called waiting,
Oh.
and it's the gate of fixed patterns. And in quantum
Hmm.
human design, it's called consistency. So this is the energy to set and repeat patterns and rituals in order to ensure a consistent flow. And that comes straight from the traditional human design explanation of this
That's
energy.
all some of my favorite things.
I don't know that you have gate. Do you
I
have gate?
don't.
Oh, yeah, I do. I have this gate.
I do
So
not.
I do.
Oh.
So this is a very rhythmic energy. And if you have this energy, you carry this energy, it's very vital to have your own routines in order to, and rhythms in order to feel good and effective. And if your personal routine or rhythm gets interrupted, it can be very hard to get around. So these are people that tend to like to do certain things the same. Now, I can relate to this. A great example is, what do I do every morning? Like,
You
what
wake up
is,
and stretch, and then you have your coffee.
I gotta have my coffee.
Gotta have the
And
coffee.
I will. And it's not because I'm addicted, it's not because I'll get headaches after or anything like that. Like, it literally is a part of my day. Like, I just love it.
Even if we were going on a early morning road trip for some travel volleyball,
Hmm.
first thing we're doing is stopping at McDonald's so you can get your
Hmm.
coffee.
Yeah, if I have to. Or I have traveled when I used to do my French press. I have traveled with my French press so that I could have the coffee I want. Worst thing ever that happened. Okay, not ever, but in
Dramatic.
relation to this, it's not even dramatic. That's, trite to say it. But the last time I went on a trip with your dad and we were in Utah and we had this great, great little Airbnb. It was super cute.
Mhm.
No way to make any form of coffee in this
That's a
place.
bad Airbnb.
No coffee maker, no French press, nothing to boil water, nothing, nothing to make coffee. So we stayed there for, I think, 2 or 3 nights. Closest coffee was a convenience store about 5 or 6 miles down the road. Do you know how hard it was to get up every day, get ready, and to try and get your dad out of the house? Because I wanted to like get that cup of coffee. It just feels good. It just makes me feel good. I like it. But that's one. But I also noticed throughout my day, I mean, I used to like to think I was somewhat flexible, and I am. But like I noticed when I'm making dinner, I can just feel the rhythm. And a lot of this rhythm has to do with the natural rhythm, like daylight and everything
Mhm.
else.
Mhm,
No
mhm,
matter how
mhm.
hard I try, different times a year of when we're going to eat dinner, it always ends up being it's dark almost.
Summertime, you do not eat before 8 o'clock.
Mm-mm, no. And I used to blame
You're
it
on
on
that
your dad.
European style.
Yeah, I blame it on your dad, but I think a lot of it is it's just it's the daylight thing.
I mean, that plays into both of y'all's
Yeah.
routines with
And
that.
that's part of this energy here. It is the natural rhythms and cycles in life. And it is associated with being in tune with natural rhythms as far as
Mhm.
seasons and planetary and all that stuff. So this gate likes routine and finds great satisfaction in these mundane rituals, which I can attest to. So, gate 14, which is connecting to the G center as well. Gate 14 is referred to as possession in great measure,
Ooh.
and it's called the gate of power skills. And in quantum human design, it's called creation.
Hmm.
And so this gate releases energy, which is money or resources, to empower direction in life
Hmm.
because it is moving up towards the G center, which is identity, direction, where you're going, love, all that
Mhm.
stuff. So this is in the individual circuitry, and it's the energy there makes sure that the change or mutation that is always wanting to come through is supported, and it shows us how to invest our resources in order to grow and expand. This gate's really associated with money and wealth in the human design system, and it is, they say it's the fertile power of the sacral center at its most exalted. Now,
That's a mouthful.
that's a mouthful, right? These are people whose creative potential lies in loving the work that they do. So there's a lot of energy here around work and
Mhm.
money and doing what you want to do.
What does
To do
Presley have to find in the root?
in the
In the
sacral.
sacral. I always say that. Yeah, of
Well, he has this gate. He,
course.
no, he doesn't. No, that's you. You don't have it. I know he has it. Yeah, he has the whole channel, as does your mother. So I have it as well. And this is telling a lot here. It's like this is where you can see that even if you know a lot about the system and you can get all the information in your head, you really have to start embodying it and understanding what it means and how it plays out and what it looks like for you, because this is my personality sun gate 14.
Mm.
But work and money is also something I've always struggled with because I've
Mhm.
never really been doing work that I love, right?
Right.
And so I think I haven't really tapped into the full potential of this gate yet. I think I'm getting there because I think I'm finally finding that path.
Mhm.
But when I read a lot of the information about it and hear people talk about it, like, oh, that you're lucky if you have gate 14. It's like, well, but then again, we have in our long careers, business owners and everything, there has been a lot of money and um, a lot of work, but it wasn't always fun work. And so this energy is interesting in that it can help generate this money and resources doing work you love, but it's not just for yourself. It's just not for like personal gain. It's really
Hmm.
intended to really help others flourish and thrive as well. Because again, remember, it's like resources for everyone.
Hmm.
So people with this gate have the skills and the commitment and the drive to kind of birth new projects, get new projects, creative endeavors out into the world, and are here to work in life. But like I said, it has to be correct work for them and a labor of love. The reason they say it's like associated with wealth, because you think about that energy doing something it really wants to do, it's got a lot of power.
It's gonna go, go, go.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing I would read about it a lot when I was first discovering it, it was say this energy really also, like I said, it's not for your own personal gain, but it also can be the energy that helps support causes or other people, like the power and the force behind like another leader type of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
maybe not always the central figure, but part of the whole
like holding,
unit.
helping hold up or
Hmm.
push something.
Yeah, yeah, ideas, other visionary leaders or other artists, creatives, that kind of thing. Kind of one of the example, one of the books it gives is like not being the artist, but being maybe the gallery owner,
Mm,
the one that helps promote and
right.
guide the
Uplift.
resources. Okay, so when properly directed, this money can, or this resources, wealth can become significant catalysts for empowering change in the world.
Hmm.
Over to gate 29. Gate 29, I love the name of gate 29. It's called the Abysmal,
Oh,
which it's also known as the gate of perseverance.
oh,
And
that's a little bit
mhm,
better.
quantum human design calls it devotion, which even really fine tunes it a little bit more.
I
And
don't know what
so,
abysmal means.
yeah, well, this energy commits to an experience completely for the true discovery potential. And the uh, channel that it is creating there, which
Hmm.
is the 2946, is called discovery. And so this
Hmm.
is very much the energy of entering into something literally, like physically entering, because it's connected to gate 46, which is gate of vitality. There's very much this body energy here. So it's called obviously perseverance because when gate 29 answers yes, correct, hopefully, yes,
Hmm.
when it commits its energy to something or someone, they will persevere through whatever the situation brings for the discovery of what the situation brings. So they're in it. They are in it, which also means if they enter in incorrectly, they're still in it.
Still in it for the ending.
Still in it, but, and they will persevere to the end. It's very much, it's harder to, if you have this gate and you're sacrally defined and you've
Hmm.
not listened to your sacral energy and you've overridden it and you've entered into something that maybe your sacral said you shouldn't, it's going to be very hard to extract yourself from that,
Mm.
because that gate just wants to persevere until it's completed the cycle so that it knows what it has discovered from the experience. So it's not uncommon to see the physical symptoms of burnout here when you're talking about some of those
Mm.
gates here,
Hmm. Yeah.
because this is literally this gate wants to say yes to everything. Like you could
It's a
call it
ride
the
or
gate of
die.
yes. Yeah. It wants to say yes to everything. It's like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I can attest to that. It does want to say yes to everything. But these would be the, let's just say the PTA mom or whatever that ends up hating everything and everyone because she's like, I do everything around here and I'm the only one that does all the work. Well, let's look at her gates and see if she has 29 in a defined sacral. She may need to get in touch with her strategy and authority there. So, like I said, wrong commitments can make you hold on longer than you should.
Hmm.
But that energy is here to learn to distinguish between what is worth committing to and what is not. And so they have to really, really, really start tuning into that sacral response when it's entering into any new experience, because, like we said, you don't want to burn yourself up. Oh, it's also called discovery. The channel discovery is also called the design of succeeding where others fail,
Oh,
or
I have.
conversely, failing where others succeed because you're doing it wrong.
I have the 46.
Hmm. So, moving down now to gate 59,
Mhm.
dispersion, it's called.
We
And,
have chatted off air about this one before.
oh, okay. The gate of sexuality, or in quantum human design, sustainability. And so it's the energy to bond with a mate. Now, I would say this one, between traditional human design and what I learned in quantum human design, kind of vary a lot, which I think in the sense that in quantum human design with Karen Curry Parker, she's trying to use the language as the evolution to the next step, as to, okay, we have this information, what does it mean, what are we going to do with it, how do we evolve in a positive way through this knowledge. Whereas in traditional human design, it's very much focused on the sexuality and bonding aspect.
Hmm.
So she calls it sustainability because she says it's the energy, because it connects to the six, which we talked about. The six is that conflict, that friction, to see who is worth committing your energy to bonding with.
Hmm.
And this one is also about breaking down barriers to achieve union, it says, but it's basically mating, bonding.
Yeah.
So these are people that are driven by their genes to reproduce, whether that be children or creative endeavors, because it is creative energy.
Hmm.
Creative energy is actual life creation and other
Hmm.
things. Now, dispersion, the one book that I have on the I Ching, which I love, is really great. But this is the one that dispersion, the way it was described, was kind of the warm breeze over the icy lake. It takes
Oh,
time and it's slow, but it breaks down those barriers. And it, yeah, I thought that was really cool. It's a much
that is a really,
gentler,
yeah,
yeah, it's meant to break down barriers in that way. It creates intimacy. It's also referred to as gate of intimacy. These people are able to create intimacy and intimate relationships, like get people to really bring them
open up
in.
to them.
They attract people to them, and they can help break down those barriers and create that intimacy with people, trustworthy. So, that being said, as defined in quantum human design, when she's talking about sustainability, that creating bonds is for more than just sexual intimacy and physical
Hmm.
procreation. And so it's trusting in the power of your sacral center to lead you to more sufficient, sustainable relationships, and knowing that your creative endeavors and creating abundance, there's a lot of joy that comes from sharing that with others as well. And it's here to help you make more abundant choices that help you sustain yourself and others and in your life. So, and that's when I was talking about that defense circuit. That's
Right.
so 59, and that side is associated more with the male father energy of
Hmm.
the actual physical act and getting things going. And because there's a lot of in that channel as well, there's a lot of that energy of, we said, like war or peace. Are we going to make the bonds or are we not? There's a lot of fiery energy there. And then we'll talk about the other side here in a minute. So now Haley gets excited because we're going to move on to gate 9,
E.
which connects to the root center, which we just talked about in the last episode. Gate 9 is called focus,
Oh.
and it is also called the taming power of the small.
Oh.
And quantum human design is called convergence. So this is concentrated energy to establish a pattern. So, do you remember 52 was when we were talking about the
Yeah, it was the hide, like the
stillness?
bird's eye view.
Yeah, and the stillness and keeping your eye on the big picture. And
Hmm.
then gate 9 is where it focuses. Okay. So gate 9 is all about details.
I love details.
That's right. Focus and detail. So these are people with the ability to focus for prolonged periods of time, detail work, and that's as long as they can maintain the discipline of sitting still. So if they have the full channel, they can, which your brother has the full channel. And it's true, when he is focused on something, I mean, I think some of the little detail, like when he does all his
When he makes the
origami and all,
tiny, tiny little cranes that are like
all the little
super small.
puzzles and all the things he has in his room of things that he sits and he focuses and he doesn't he oh his bonsai tree Lego
Mhm.
thing, like he does that all in one setting. Like he will not get up, he'll do it all in one setting. That's a pretty good
Oh, yeah.
explanation of
I have a
that.
Lego set. I am also doing it all in one sitting.
It's true. Yeah, you can be still. And so, yes, maintaining focus and naturally gifted at handling details, which 100% I would say is true for you. I have this funny story about how the room I'm sitting in now used to be painted differently, and we were going to paint this room. This is
Mhm,
when you lived here and Hunter lived here, and we were going to paint the room.
mhm.
And I would say, I want to change the room. And you're like, let's do it. Okay, what are we going to do first? Well, we got to get, you'd say all the things we need to do. We got to get the paint. And you wouldn't let up. And
Nope.
then the day it came to paint, I would come in the room and I'd just get overwhelmed by how much there has to be done as far as like
So much prep
details.
work.
Oh God, I hate prep work. I hate details. I just have the idea and then I want to see it done.
Mhm.
I don't care about what happens in
Well,
between.
that's why in your house I have
Hmm.
painted that room twice, painted the bathroom, I painted Ian's room probably twice. I painted the hallway ceiling.
Oh, did you do the ceiling? Now, to
I
be
did.
fair, before you were old enough to do all that, I also painted in this house, but I hated every minute of it. And it
And that's
wasn't
why none of the paint changed until I was like, I'm gonna paint all of these
true.
rooms.
True. But I remember that day because you said, well, okay, we have to like wipe down the wall. We got to take all the stuff off the windows. We got to get everything out. We got to put down the tarps. We have to use the cheesecloth on the walls and get everything
Get the
off the
dust
walls.
off.
And then and I was just sitting there going, I don't want to.
And I think I primarily ended up painting the room by
Like,
myself.
Kaylee, you're doing such a good job. You know what? It worked. It worked for both of us. You got to use my sacral energy, and I got to use your attention to details and needing to improve the situation through your 1858. But I think about that all the time. Like, you're definitely a details girl, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, and then if you have that gate 52, it really helps focus or helps you figure out what you are focusing on. So, a challenge here, though, when you have this gate without the 52,
Mhm.
is to not just see the trees, but the forest as well. So, it's not
Mhm.
getting mired and stuck in the details, like of being able to pull out your focus and see the big picture. Because you can definitely, I'm not saying you, I'm saying if you have this gate, you can definitely get stuck in just the details and go down the rabbit hole of details and kind of lose focus of what the big picture is and what
I
overall
am
should be. Yeah.
seeing that in my wedding planning.
Are you?
I'm like, I gotta step back and see how I want the whole thing to look
You
instead of
do
just
because
being
you
focused
you
on one
could
thing.
yeah, you could I could see you detailing yourself to death. Like making sure everything was and then I'll come in and come along and be like, "Is that really necessary? Is
And
that
then I'm
part?"
like, maybe it's not.
Yeah. Let's just step back for a minute and think for a minute what you really really need and yeah. And yeah, you need a little guidance there for that. So that's okay. I'm happy to help.
I mean, I am very detail focused.
Yeah. So that is gate 9. So gate 3 is the gate of ordering, and it's called difficulty at the beginning, and it's also called in quantum human design innovation.
Mm,
Now, I will say gate 3 is one I'm still trying to get a handle on the feel for it.
mhm,
Um, and so I can tell you what it says, which says brings order to the mutative pulse frequency. So we know it's coming from the root center, and gate 60 was that gate of conservation, right?
mm,
It's a more conservative energy, but it's
mhm.
this pulse of energy. So The three on the other end, then this innovative. So three is this mutative energy that wants change,
Mm-hmm.
but it needs to, it kind of can bring chaos with it in the sense that if it doesn't have the 60 to kind of temper it with its conservative energy, this is the energy and the people of always just wanting to do something new, right? Just kind
Mm-hmm.
of going forward without, and it's like a river overflowing its bank, or water that doesn't have like a channel to follow. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like just rush of energy, like let's just
So would it
do
just be
this.
kind of like scrapping everything and just doing something new? Because like
Yeah.
the 60, the conservationalistness of it or whatever, it was about like taking what works and then maybe changing the things that aren't necessarily working, but knowing what needs to stay the same.
Yes, in a way. And it's like knowing that there needs to be limits. And that's where the
Mm-hmm.
conservation part is. So like you said, a river has a purpose and can sustain and grow a lot of people, but if its path changes or if it overflows its banks or it doesn't have where to go, it can be very destructive energy
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, they're always ready to do something new, but they have to understand that there's potential chaos if they don't wait for the right moment and the right
Mm-hmm.
conditions for their potential to emerge. So it's this energy that wants to do and go, and it's like new energy and it wants to just jump into things. So these are people that need a little structure in their lives, okay, because they have a lot of this innovative energy within them, a lot of creative
Mm-hmm.
potential. And so there could be also a sense of melancholy here because they may feel held back a lot,
Mm.
whether it be by people or by systems, people who aren't willing to change. So it's like they see all this new possibility and potential and they want to just go with it. And so if they don't have the 60, they definitely need to, because that's going to help hold them back a little bit and know when to focus their energy. So if they don't have that gate, it's definitely important to start really, really trusting that strategy authority and working with that to know when is the right time to move forward with that energy. So, anyways, that's gate three. And like I said, I think, I mean, I know my sister has this full channel, and I think it's one of the few she has. And so I'm very curious. I'm trying to look at the perspective of what I know about her to see how that plays out. But then I think, well, she does have pretty good timing as far as if she just responds, because she's a manifesting generator.
Oh,
And
she's kind of
which,
lucky.
yeah, I never would have thought she was a manifesting generator because she's not somebody that I see as someone who moves particularly quick like your
Mm.
dad does, like
Yeah.
physically moves around. But she does kind of march to her own drum. Like
Mm-hmm.
I will actually find out later when she has already formulated a plan in her head and has executed things and put them into place, like moving, to
New
Puerto Rico
city.
or Colorado or wherever. I'm like, you're doing what now? But she
Mm.
does. She waits for the right time. And it usually, especially when she moved from Puerto Rico to Colorado, things just magically lined up for her. They did. They really did. I mean, it was a bad situation in Puerto Rico because they were there when Hurricane Maria came
I
through and
think so.
destroyed everything. And she just waited for the right time. Wasn't immediately afterwards, but several months. She had what she wanted to do was probably wanted to go somewhere else, and she just kind of waited. And then when the timing was right, the right job showed up. A couple interviews later, couple weeks later, she's in Colorado. I mean, things just like fell into place for her
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I've always sat back and marveled at. I'm like, you're so things just work out for you.
And then
She's
she'll
like,
be like, yeah, they kind of do.
yeah, I guess she doesn't see it. It's so natural for her, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a good description of that. So, okay, so almost done. Gate 42 is called increase, and it's the gate of growth.
Mm.
and in quantum human design, conclusion. So,
Oh.
as you can imagine, it closes a cycle and brings things to an end.
Because the channel, the 53 that it's connected to, is the one about beginnings.
Exactly. That's
Wow, it makes so much
exactly
sense.
right. It's almost like it was thought out.
It's wow.
Wow. Okay, so people who have this energy have an imperative to always finish what they've begun. Like these are people who are designed to jump into the middle of anything and be able to bring it to completion,
Hmm.
right? They're not designed to start things, especially if they just have this energy. If you don't have the other end of it, for sure, the 53, like you
Hmm.
said. But they're always feeling under this pressure to finish everything they begin, even though they might not have. Go back.
Hmm.
They're under this tremendous pressure to finish everything that they begin, and they have the power and the commitment to follow it into all the way through to the end. Okay,
Hmm.
so they are more focused on the end, not the beginning, and so new beginnings can be difficult for people who have just this gate and not the other gate. So they may want to be bringing things to conclusion, but these are the people that always feel like they have a hard time getting things started, getting things off the ground, getting the project. They might have lots of ideas and they can see how it can end, but they can't get it going. So they might need the help of others, borrow some other
Hmm.
people's gate 53. And they can feel like they're stuck in cycles of that never seem to end, like childhood patterns, reoccurring themes, stuff like that. It's just like kind of out of their control. So, this is another one of those gates where you really have to pay attention to your strategy and authority. I guess you could say that with all the sacral gates, I mean, everything in the chart, but especially when we're talking about the use of this energy, because this is another gate that once you jump in, you've got to see it through to the end. You know, gate
Makes sense.
29, perseverance, wants to say yes to everything. This is
Hmm.
another gate, which, this is where that sacral or where that circuitry crosses over from the 29, crosses over to the 42 and goes down into the root, or vice versa. So, yeah, definitely make sure you're entering into things correctly because you will be there till the end.
Makes sense because it's about
Yeah.
endings.
Okay.
Finisher.
Lastly, gate 27, reaching over to the spleen,
Hmm. Hmm.
nourishment, gate of caring, and quantum human design, gate of accountability. And so these are people who are here to so these are people who are here to preserve and protect themselves and others.
Hmm.
So this is a lot of that mothering energy we were talking about. So it's the other side of that defense
Yeah.
circuit. So procreating on this side is what it takes to care for,
Care for.
nurture, teach your children well. Mothering
Because what
energy,
was so it connects to gate 50. I don't remember what 50
responsibility.
was. Responsibility. Responsibility and accountability.
Yeah. So
It's
as
a
you can
fun
see
one.
on both ends of this here, there's a lot of because gate 50, remember the spleen, fear of letting people down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And this side, caring, over nurturing. These are the people that can fall into that trap of giving too much, not putting on the when you talk about in the plane,
Oxygen mask before
oxygen,
helping the
not a
others.
gas mask. Not putting on their oxygen mask first, right? Of trying to take care of everybody else and not take care of themselves. They got to be very
why
careful
they
with that.
why they gotta put all this pressure on the more motherly energy?
Can't help it, man. It just happens. So this is where the sacral response comes in handy, because you've got to know who you're here to care for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who and what they're here to care for. Did I say that twice? Who they're let me say it one more time. Who they're here to care for instead of rushing in and trying to take care of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that because we know that's not healthy. So, as I said, if you don't have that gate 50 could kind of help you direct who you're supposed to be caring for more.
Mm.
Um, So if you don't have that, you may have the impulse to care for everybody, but lack the instinct to set those healthy boundaries around
Mm,
that impulse. And so it's responsibility and values. So this is the values piece in the tribe. This is
mm,
where
mm-hmm,
this lies too, of what we all rally around and what's important. And so it's tribal, like we said, and it's a gate that it says delivers food and teaches the tribe how to grow and distribute more. So it's caring, but it's also teaching. And so another lesson here, which is a lesson for all parents, and it's very present in this energy, is yes, you have the capacity and you have the energy to do everything for your children,
mm-hmm.
but that doesn't help your children, right?
Yeah.
You should teach your children how to do the things, how to care for themselves, and then be able to take that step back and let them fly,
Yeah.
kind of
Because I mean
thing.
that goes back to the whole overarching concept of the sacral, of the survival, the continuation of the species.
Right, because if the mother or the parent, not just the mother, but the
Hmm.
parents don't empower their young to take care of themselves, they will not survive another
No.
generation,
If you
which
just do
is
everything for them, they won't know how to do anything, and
right. Right.
everything falls apart.
Yeah. And that's a very hard lesson. I mean, being a parent of adult children, one who's out, one who's not, who's in the other room, it's very difficult to watch at times because um, you want to do as much as you can to help, but there is a fine line because then it just becomes a codependent
Hmm.
relationship.
They
And there
have
is
to,
codependency here in this energy,
yeah.
obviously.
I mean, they have to, children have to fail at things to basically know how to pick themselves back up to go do it, try it again.
Yeah. And it's hard to watch. It's hard. It is hard to watch when you know somebody's making a mistake, but you also know, I mean, you try to give them enough so that it's not so painful. But then again, we've talked so much about it here on this podcast. What it really brings growth is struggle
Hmm.
and having to fight your way through it, but you are going to make mistakes. People are going to fall down. They can get back up. They are always learning. So if you carry this energy, yes, there's a lot of caring here, but you've got to also care for yourself and make sure that you're not, you know, hurting yourself and others by doing too much.
Hmm.
So when you take a step back and look at all the different ways power and energy can be used and how it is used, it's really interesting to see how the sacral functions and how it directs energy throughout the rest of the chart.
Hmm.
So that's the sacral center. We only have what's left is above the heart.
Get into more of my definition.
You've been very patient listening to all this sacral energy.
I really liked the root one because, like I said, that's my most definition.
Yeah. Well, you can take all this information in, and I've been taking it in for quite some time, but it really does, really just a lot of uh, introspection, but also just experimenting and seeing if you're defined here, how that plays out, paying attention to that sacral uh, response,
Hmm.
and really tuning into if you know your gates, you really do start to see how that plays out for you in your experience. And it really does help you kind of start appreciating how your system works and how it can be um, useful moving forward to know what's correct for you and how you're meant to operate. Got to the end of that sentence eventually. I got there. So now we've covered all the motors in the chart.
Hmm.
And I think probably where we'll go next might be
I feel like maybe we should leave the throat for the last center because it's
Yeah,
got a lot.
it does have a lot.
And it goes a lot of different directions too.
Yeah. Well, as they say, all roads lead to the throat.
I'll get that
All roads
crocheted
lead
on
to
a pillow.
Rome. Yeah. All roads lead. Well, everything's trying to get out there, manifesting. So, anyways, you going to rest your undefined sacral the rest of the day, or do you have plans?
I will rest it for a while and then we're going to a soccer game.
Oh, yes, a soccer game. Ooh,
Yes.
soccer, not kickball.
No, soccer. We're going to
Wow.
watch it.
Oh, you're going to.
Oh my god, yeah. I would never play soccer. It's so much running.
Well, you played kickball.
That is spurts of running if you don't get out when you kick.
Anyways, so now we're just rambling on. Nobody needs to hear all that. So we're going to call this the end of the day. I'm going to probably have to go burn off some more sacral energy. You're going to have to rest yours. And then I will see you tomorrow.
For food.
Yeah, and by the time everybody hears this, it's like probably a couple weeks later. So, anyways, it's been fun as always. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and talk to you later, Haley. So, bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.